everyone, and welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Gemma, and thank you for joining me on this Easter Eve. Is that a thing? It is now. So Easter, guys, it's almost upon us, and it means different things to different people, but for me, it's all about family and friends. But most of all, it's about these guys, cream eggs. They are my absolute fave things to eat at Easter. And actually, they are the king of the Easter egg. And I think that's proven in the fact that you can get these well before Easter. And in fact, if I'm not eating one of these in January, I'm absolutely livid. So the cream egg, I thought, how can we give this little guy a moment of his own? So I thought a cream egg brownie would be a good idea. So I'm gonna show you how to make a delicious chocolate fudgy brownie with layers of yellow and white fudge, topped with a rich chocolate ganache and even more cream eggs and a little mini cream egg surprise inside. I can't wait to eat this. So we're gonna start by making, no, we're not. We're gonna start by preparing the tin, and I'm using an 8-inch tin. You want to grease that either with butter or oil, or like me, I'm using a cake release spray. And then you wanna line both the sides and the base with grease-proof paper. And then just secure any flappy bits of paper with metal bulldog clips. This will just help prevent them from baking into your brownie. Sometimes it flaps about in the oven and it kind of bakes into your brownie, and then you have to pull it out and it's really messy and nobody wants that. So your bulldog clips are your best mates here. So now it's time to make the brownie, of course, and we're using the classic CRUMBS and DOILIES recipe, which is rich, fudgy, a little bit chewy, and it's so, so delicious. So the first thing we need to do is melt chocolate and butter together. I've already got a pan of simmering water here and a heat-proof bowl, and popping that on top turns it into a bain-marie, if you didn't know what a bain-marie was. Now you do. So into that bowl, I'm gonna put 165 grams of unsalted butter, which is cold from the fridge and chopped up, along with 165 grams of dark chocolate. And I'm using 70% chocolate here just to make it super duper rich. Keep that heating on a low medium heat, giving it a little stir every now and then just to combine those ingredients together. Now, if you want, you can do this in the microwave. You just need to do that in 20-second bursts, stirring really well after each blast of the microwave, but you'll end up with exactly the same thing, a lovely chocolatey, liquidy, yummy thing. So just take that off the heat. Lovely. Now you can just set that to one side because it's quite hot right now, so it just needs to cool down a little bit. But that's okay because there's other things to do, like getting your dry ingredients together. So I've got a big bowl with a sieve, and I am going to put 135 grams of plain flour, along with 45 grams of good quality cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt, just to bring out all those lovely chocolatey flavors. And then just sieve it through. And that'll help, obviously, sift it and get rid of any nuggets, but also it does go some way to mixing these ingredients together, which is good news. Right, that can also be set to one side. Goodbye. And now it's time to get your eggs whisking with your sugar. So I've got 3 large free-range eggs. I'm just gonna pop them in one by one and then add 330 grams of caster sugar. As you can see, I've got my balloon whisk attachment on my mixer. Pop that down and start whisking together on a medium-high speed. You wanna get a lot of volume and you wanna triple it in volume. The mixture should be really nice and pale and thick. Once that's ready, you can add a teaspoon of vanilla extract and then go ahead and put your chocolate and butter mixture in, making sure you don't waste a drop. Put the mixer back on a low speed just to combine those ingredients together slowly. You could do this by hand as well if you wanted. And then once that's all combined, you can add your dry ingredients. Again, just folding this through slowly. Or you can finish it off by hand if you like, which I like to do. I just feel like you get a bit more thorough, because also sometimes the mixer doesn't quite manage to pick up bits at the bottom, and you don't want to waste any of this because it's so rich and chocolatey and yummy. So just grab a nice big rubber spatula and get it in there just to make sure all those dry bits are in the mix. And now you'll end up with this lovely, rich, thick, dark brownie batter, which you can pop straight into your prepared tin. Oh, look. I mean, every time I do this, I think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it just is like the most lovely stuff. Obviously, a lot lovelier once it's baked, but that's all my batter in. Now, I'm going to level it off with a palette knife. Just one of these cranked ones makes it a bit easier, just to make sure that it bakes as level as possible. So just tease it into all the corners, and yeah, just That's it really, just tease it into the corners. Remember I said there was a little mini cream egg surprise going on? Well, these are they. I've had these little mini cream eggs in the freezer. They're really, really cold, so that means when they bake, they're not gonna just, because the inside is like a basically sugar fondant, it means that when they bake, they're not just gonna disintegrate. So with 8-inch brownies, I always like to chop these into 9 pieces, so 3 by 3. So I'm gonna put one of these into each of my future pieces, just right in the middle, so that if I cut into it halfway, it would reveal the insides. And then just with your palette knife, just move some of that displaced brownie batter just over the tops a little bit. You won't completely cover them, but it will just help keep them, the brownie, a bit level. So when your eggs are all hidden and your brownies all level, you can bake that at 170 degrees C for, I would say, check it at 26. It'll bake between 26 and 30 minutes, depending on how you like your brownie. Now, I like my brownie really fudgy, almost underbaked. So I'll check mine at 26, stick a skewer in it, and if a bit of the batter comes out, that's actually pretty good for me. If you like it a bit more cakey, put it in the oven for a couple more minutes at a time and remove it when the skewer comes out clean. And once it's baked, just leave it to cool and then stick it into the fridge to chill down completely. Well, hello again. So my brownie is chilled, and as you can see, I've actually taken off the corners of it, because sometimes what happens with a brownie is the sides rise up and the middle bit stays level. So because I want to add like a fudgy layer to it, I want it to be as level as possible. So I actually just really carefully, very carefully with a sharp knife, just took off the corners. And that whole thing happened and no one needs to talk about it anymore. So that's ready and it's filling time. So I really wanted to choose like a really sweet, slightly fudgy in texture filling, a little bit like the inside of a cream egg, and something that works really well with the fudginess of the brownie. So I'm doing like a simple Cheats fudge. This has got 3 ingredients, I mean barely even 3, to be honest, it's more like 2 with a little bit of extra vanilla, but it's really simple to make. I've got myself a heat-proof bowl here. I'm going to put 560 grams of good quality white chocolate chips, along with 400 grams of condensed milk and a teaspoon of good quality vanilla extract. And just pop that onto a bain-marie, which is set over a low simmer, and let it melt, and every now and then just give it a stir. Now, white chocolate doesn't melt like dark chocolate. It is a bit stiffer and a bit stickier, but with a little bit of stirring, it'll come together really well. So when it's all completely smooth and combined, you'll notice that it is like this really thick, super sticky glob of, I'm gonna say deliciousness, because it is actually quite delicious, but it is very strange stuff. Now, it is a bit yellow because of the white chocolate, and also the condensed milk is a little bit on the yellow side. So to brighten it up a little bit, I'm gonna just whip it. It doesn't whip like white chocolate ganache, so don't expect it to be like floofy and pale, but it does take the edge off a little bit. So I've got my trusty hand mixer, let's give it a go. Oops, got a little bit of a white chocolate flickage going on. Now, I think that's paled up a little bit. It will never go completely white like a cream egg, but this is as good as it's gonna get. So I'm gonna pour approximately half onto my brownie. You can eyeball it. Although, if you do wanna get your scales out, you know I'm all for it. And then use your palette knife just to level that off. Now, it is really sticky, this one. So just tease it really gently. What you don't want to do is try and do a really big, bold spread, because what might happen is it picks up the crumbs from the top of the brownie. And we don't want crumbs in our nice, pristine egg white. Now, it will start to set immediately, but it does help to put it in the fridge for the next bit, but it's all the way over there. So Nikki, would you mind? Thank you, Nikki. Now, the rest of this stuff has to be yellow, of course, to represent the egg yolk in the cream egg. I almost forgot what eggs were for a second there. So I'm using some sugar flare colour paste in egg yellow, because it seems like that's the most appropriate colour for an egg yolk. And I'm going to put quite a lot in, because I do want it to be really concentrated and really bright. So I'd say, oh, that's like 1/4 teaspoon maybe. Wiggle it around, give it a wipe, and then grab your mixers back again. I've got a lovely bright yellow colour, which is perfect. I need my brownie. Thanks, Nikki. So again, just pour that straight onto the previous layer and then gently level it off with your palette knife. So you'll see that it starts to set straight away and forms a skin. So you could just start with your topping straight away, but I like to put mine into the fridge for a little while just to help it to set. So put it in the fridge and clear the decks. It's time to finish this guy off. So I have chosen to do a chocolate ganache. I've used 55% chocolate here rather than 70, just because it's already quite rich. So let's just take the edge off a little bit. I made the ganache just by getting 170 grams of good quality dark chocolate, as I said, 55%. And I chopped that into really small pieces just so that it was a bit easier to melt. Then I put 170 grams of double cream onto the hob in a small saucepan and just gently heated that on a low heat just until it starts to steam. Then pour it over your chocolate, leave it for just 1 minute just to warm all that chocolate through, and then using a small spatula or a spoon, stir it all together and you end up with this lovely ganache. So I've got that, that's ready. I've also, you might have noticed, I've got some, it looks like a sort of chocolate version of, I don't know, like a snack plate. So I've actually chopped some of my cream eggs in half. This is more difficult than it sounds. So I actually heated up my knife using my trusty blowtorch, because there's always room for a blowtorch in every procedure, I think. So I heated up just the blade of my knife, and just, there's always a seam around the cream egg. So I just put the hot knife around that and then just cut through. I tried it a bunch of different ways. A lot of them ended in catastrophes, but there's no real such thing as a catastrophe with a cream egg, because if you break one, then you just get to eat it. So they're ready. I've got my brownie, I've got my ganache, and away we go. And once your ganache is lovely and level, you can top your brownie with your pieces of cream egg and just pop them right into the middle of where the pieces will be once you cut them. And then once you've done that, pop it into the fridge just to set completely. There he is! Finished, finito. And look at those gorgeous layers. We've got the lovely chewy brownie bit, we've got the fudgy bits in those two very distinct colors, and then we've got a nice rich ganache on top. And the surprise inside, which is not a surprise to you, obviously, because you've been watching this video since the beginning, and hopefully you've been making it as well, so you know exactly what's inside. But if you give these to some of your friends, then they're gonna get a cheeky surprise. So let's have a little look at what they will have in store. Ooh, straight through the egg. Oh my God, double egg. Double rainbow, but egg. How cute is that? Now, this actually is great because it's made it a lot more manageable for me to get in my gob. So here we go. I say manageable, I nearly broke my jaw, but give it another go. Mmm, yummy. Oh look, it's so fudgy, like the whole thing from top to bottom, but like not in a kind of boring, oh I'm so bored of fudge way, because it's all slightly different. You've got the fudgy chocolate brownie, which is ever so slightly chewy. You've got that lovely quick fudge in the middle, and then soft silky ganache on top. Plus your surprise. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little bake. And if you want some more ideas for Easter bakes, make sure you check out our Easter playlist, which has loads of recipes from days gone by. Also, if you happen to be in London this weekend, first of all, lucky you, and second of all, you simply must pop along to the Crumbs and Doilies shop, because Easter is one of the best times of year in the shop. We have so many fun cakes and bakes. We do things with bunnies and chicks. What else? Eggy things. It's really cute in there. So please, maybe even this one. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I'll be back next week with something crispy and chewy and peanutty and chocolatey and salty and sweet and all my favorite things in one bake. So make sure you're subscribed to the Cupcake Jemma channel. Make sure you've clicked on the little bell so that you get notified every time a video goes up, so you're one of the first people to see them and you don't miss a damn thing. I'll be back. See you soon. Gotta get my egg on. Bye. Oh, I'm gonna eat the egg from the middle. Oh my God, crazy times. It's like a chef's treat.